So we're now going to show you the steps in replacing or repairing a drive cable. So the first step is to remove the broken cable from the drum. Step 2 is to remove the cable spring from the cable. And remove the cable clamps. Save all these parts as you will need them for the new cable. Now we have to wrap the new cable onto the drum, and so what we need to do here is look at a normal drive drum, count the number of wraps on the drive cable that has the tube carriers connected to it, and this drum has 21 or 22 wraps on it. So we now need to install 21 wraps onto this drum. And you'll notice here that the cable is being wrapped on the bottom of the drum, and the other return cable is coming off the top of the adjacent drum. You'll notice that we're keeping all the wraps close together and tight, so there's no extra cable on the drum. Now that we have the new cable wrapped onto the drive drum, we're going to retract the roof 30 to 40 centimeters in order to provide room to get up in between the roofs. And so we're going to put our hand here just to make sure the wraps stay controlled while we're retracting the roof. So we now have the new cable on the drum, and there you can see the delay bracket still attached to the leading edge, and we have now pulled our new cable to where we're going to make the splice at the first tube carrier in from the drive shaft. Okay, the next step is to grab the leading edge and pull it towards the drive shaft to get all the slack out of the cable. So pulling it tight, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put a mark on the cable right where the tube carrier is, so that we know the position of the tube carrier on the drive cable. The next step is to install 2 cable clamps to splice the new drive cable to the existing one that has broken. And you'll notice that there is approximately 3 inches or 8 centimeters of space between the cable clamp and the tube carrier. Now a second cable clamp will be installed approximately 2 to 3 centimeters or 1 inch behind the first cable clamp. You'll notice that the legs have been installed upwards so that they could not catch on the curtain, and these cable clamps have now been securely tightened. The next step is to cut off the tail from the broken cable. And now we are going to transfer the tube carrier from the broken cable onto the new cable. If this tube carrier came off the leading edge when the drive cable broke, do not reuse the tube carrier, instead replace it for a new one, because the tube carrier most likely got damaged when the cable broke. We're now going to move the tube carrier to the new mark on the drive cable, and then make sure that the legs from the cable clamps are sticking up prior to the tightening of the tube carrier. And now the broken drive cable can be cut and removed. Now you'll notice how the tail of the cable is sticking down here, and that could have an abrasive effect on the curtain. So what we're going to do now is we're going to loosen the second cable clamp and slide it backwards to prevent the cable from sticking down so far. Now that the cable splice has been completed, we're going to close the roof so that we can then do a final adjustment on the cable tension and the roof positioning. We have now closed the roof, and we can see that there is a gap occurring at the same location on every truss, and the rest of the roof is completely closed. So we know that the alignment of this drive cable is not correct. So we're now going to show you how to change the alignment and closing of the roof at the drive cable that we've just repaired. So the next step is we're going to loosen the drive drums. And now we're going to rotate the drive drum for the cable that has the tube carrier attached, and this is going to cause the roof to close. Now, you need someone down below to watch the positioning of the roof to give guidance as to whether the roof needs to close farther or not. So now, as we start turning the drive drum, we can see that we're pulling the roof closed at this particular location. And now the roof is fully engaged. So we now know that we can tighten the drive drum securely since we have a proper seal. So we have now set the closed position for the roof, and the next step is to create the tension in the drive cable. And we're going to do that by turning the opposite drum, which is the drive drum for the return cable. So now by turning this drum, we can see that we're applying tension to the drive cable. And so now we're basically going hand tight. And the amount that you turn now will be dependent on the length of the drive system. The next step is to install the delay bracket on the gable bay closest to the drive shaft. So we're now going to slip the delay bracket onto the cable, and we're going to secure the delay bracket to the leading edge. It's really important at this step to make sure that the cable stays lined up with the drive shaft, so you want to make sure that the delay bracket is not installed too close to the gutter or too close to the peak where it is pulling the cable offline. So it's now able to easily slide here, and the next step is to close the eyes and this stops the delay bracket from coming off the cable. After the delay bracket is installed, now you will install the cable clamps with the clips. Okay, once the cable clamp is installed onto the drive cable, you then pull the leading edge into a closed position and now tighten the first cable clamp onto the drive cable. You notice which way the loop is pointing. Now that we've set the closed position for the delay bracket, we're now going to install the other cable clamp. And you'll notice that on this delay bracket there is a mark to indicate where the second cable clamp goes. And the final step is to install the cable spring into the two loops.